Hey team, today we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're doing cooking with Rurikhan. And the meal is going to be a nice steak. So let me show you guys what we're working with here. This is our beautiful steak that we are going to be preparing. Trust me, by the time I'm done, this thing is gonna be delicious. Now, there are a couple more things because you don't just want to have a steak without anything. You need some greens. And for greens, I got us some broccoli and some asparagus. So, we are going to be fixing up ourselves a nice little meal. First thing we gotta do, we gotta chop a little bit off of this bad boy. And I'm going to be boiling it a little bit just to soften it up before I put it on the frying pan. So let me go ahead and do that. Get some water in the boiler. Gonna boil this sucker real nice. I'm having to do things one-handed because I'm holding the phone because I'm a professional like that. So let's go ahead, put that sucker boiling. I'm gonna start chopping this bad boy up and put it in there. Maybe where's my knife? Knife. Yeah. By the way, this is not my kitchen. I'm at my parents' place because it's closer to the studio. So I can't really cut with one hand, so I'll just show you guys the end result. First, you split up a couple of them just to set things up, and you guys are like, that doesn't seem like very much, but that's because we still have to get a couple of asparagus. I'm thinking that's probably going to be enough greens. Let's go ahead and chop these suckers up. First, you want to chop up the bottom portion of the asparagus because it's usually not particularly tasty, this section right here. And it's also pretty rough and kind of chewy, so you should chop off a little bit off of the end. That's usually how I do it. And then the rest of it, you just kind of chop it off evenly, like give or take like this, right? Like chop, 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 chop. And that will be the asparagus. On the other hand, these here, I want to make them a little bit smaller because they are going to go into the frying pan. So let me go ahead and do that right now. And that's our greens pretty much prepared and good to go into here, where we'll pour some boiling water so that they soften up a little bit before they go into the frying pan. So let's go ahead and do that. Put these suckers in there. There you go. Now we're gonna pour some of that boiling water. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's the good stuff. You don't need too much water, just enough where they soften up just a little bit. As a matter of fact, I need a wooden spoon, so let me just stir them up a little bit to make sure that all of them are actually going under the water and they're getting like a little bit softened up. Again, this is not really to properly boil them or steam them. It's just to soften them up a little bit. And also, it does the washing bit. So that way you just wash them up like this. Then once you rinse them, they'll be pretty good. Okay, so now we gotta talk about the steak. The very first thing you're gonna do is grab a little bit of salt. I'm not gonna salt bay because I don't wanna do a mess. I don't wanna make a mess of this. I just wanna actually properly season my meat. So we're gonna go ahead, do that. A little bit of salt, maybe even a little bit more here because this is a pretty thick cut, right? So you wanna make sure you salt that up real nice. Now I have this mixture here. This is garlic and it says salsa. I don't think it's called salsa in English, but it's some type of herb that I kind of like. So I'm gonna do a little bit of mixture of that too. I need to be careful because this thing pours way too much. But there you go. I'm also gonna be adding some pepper, but we won't be able to see, or can I even do it? Can I like ground it manually? Kinda. One hand grounding is not particularly good. But you guys get the idea. I'll do a little bit more pepper after I finish, but you guys get the idea. And you guys wonder, what the hell is that? A little bit of brown sugar, just a little bit. Don't go too overboard with it because you don't want the steak to be sweet. But trust me, a little bit of brown sugar does miracles for steak. And then after you're done with that, I usually use a spoon to make sure that the stuff stays in there. because we're gonna flip it over and essentially do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna ground some more pepper in here. I'm gonna need both of my hands, but you guys get the idea. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side with a little bit more pepper, all right? Okay, it is now fully seasoned on both sides. I'm going to do the same thing with the spoon, making sure the stuff gets in there and actually stays there. Oh man, I can't wait to take a bite out of this. Sucker's gonna be so good. I just worked out, so this is a lot of protein that is gonna go straight into gains, baby. That's what's up. We just finished workout. We do a nice little red meat steak. We're gonna go straight into the gains. Okay, so now I need to turn this sucker on. We're gonna go ahead and do just that. Put that stuff in there. Gonna add the additional 2 heating things. You want one of these with the grid because that is just better for cooking a steak that is that thick, at least in my personal opinion. So you want one of these, and I'm gonna use it for 2 things. It's both gonna do the steak, but it's also gonna do the veggies right here. We're gonna rinse these suckers off, and they're gonna go straight in there with just a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt, and then we're gonna add a little bit of soy sauce. Just gonna make them real nice and crispy. Turn this thing on. Lights on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're almost there, baby. Okay, so as you can see, the veggies are rinsed and they look quite a bit softer than they did earlier, which is nice because then they go onto the frying pan. They harden up a little bit, and you get kind of like a result of like crunchy greens, which is exactly what I like. I don't like them raw, but I don't like them too soft. Like if you steam them, they get way too soft, like they get all mushy, they tear apart in your mouth. Like, no, I like crunchy greens. That's the way that I like them. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little bit of olive oil, which is one of the things that we produce here in Portugal. One of the very few things. We have tons of olive trees, so we have lots and lots and lots of companies that do olive oil. So we're gonna do this. Then I'm just gonna throw these suckers right on in there. And you mix them up, spread them up. And like I said, we're gonna want dude, it looks so awkward trying to do this through the phone camera. It is so weird. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get, like I said, we're gonna throw in a pinch of salt and maybe even a little bit of these herbs. Where are these herbs? These. So we're gonna use these, and we're gonna bring the salt back here. The salt's not usually here, it's usually all the way in here, in the back. So we're gonna put this sucker in here, we're gonna throw in a pinch of salt, just throw it in there, and then give it like a nice stir. Now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and pour in a little bit of this. I'm very careful about pouring this thing because this thing just eats so much stuff. Mix it in, and we're gonna let that sucker stay in there for a bit. Now, it's time to also start thinking about putting that steak. So we're gonna bring the sucker on in a little bit closer. Look at that.
Look at it. It's a work of art. It is beautiful. Yes, yes. Look.
All right, now, let me go ahead, move this stuff over here. I think it's actually about ready to take that soy sauce, so we'll just... I know that some of you are going to be like, oh, there's going to be contamination. I'm not going to use that much. If I can even use these. I'm not going to use that much, just a little bit. And then once I do this, it'll pretty much all get absorbed by the greens, so we'll be fine. And there's almost no contamination whatsoever. So I'm gonna move these suckers on over there. Usually, the greens take a little bit longer to be ready than the meat because obviously, we are going to go for medium rare. Because what kind of like friggin' Neanderthal would cook their meat any other way than medium rare? Look, it practically falls apart in my hand. It's so nice. Look. That is going to be glorious in just a couple of minutes. Just you wait. Dude, doing this one hand is terrible. It's about time to flip. We need to flip this sucker really fast before it gets too well done. So let's go. And this is what it looks like. Look at that sucker. And you're like, oh, that looks almost roasted. Oh, no, trust me. Trust me, there's still plenty of juice in there. Look inside. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but trust me, this is gonna be medium rare. It's gonna be gorgeous. Okay, and that's pretty much it. All that's left now is to plate it up. I'm actually going to use this because this frying pan tends to get rather hot. Get in there. Yeah, sorry. I'm terrible doing this with only one hand. You dropped a little piece of broccoli. Get back in there, sucker. Now, let me show you guys something. We're going to need some of this, and we use the same knife we used to cut the greens. We'll just rinse it off a little bit. Have some cloth here. That'll do. Now, it's like, give me a second. I need to use both hands to cut a little bit of it to show you the inside. Look at that. That is exactly the color that you want on your steak. This is going to be absolutely mind-blowingly delicious. You understand? Delicious. And that right there is the first episode of Cooking with Ruri. Look at that sucker. I'm gonna go eat it now before it gets cold. Yum, 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 yum.